Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be back with another Young Indian, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Archa Joe. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Archa.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And everyone here would agree, whoever's watching this, that it's a very great initiative. It's a wonderful initiative for young students, young people like me to come forward and voice out their opinions, voice out their experience. So that's what I'm also planning to do. I am Archa Joe. I am originally from the state of Kerala, and currently I'm an MSc Economics student at the University of Nottingham, and I am working part time as a research assistant under the Department of Economics under Professor Matia. So I'm currently studying analyzing wealth inequality in ancient Mesopotamia, and I'll also talk about that in detail as we go forward. And so where should I begin? Okay. So I think, like I said, I grew up in Kerala, and I would say it was the habit of reading newspapers that really motivated and really led me to understand what is happening in the world. And that's a very Malayali, I have to say, it's a very Malayali thing to do. So I grew up watching my grandparents, watching my parents read newspapers early morning. So I also got pushed into reading, not pushed, but I was really encouraged to read newspapers. And it was while reading newspapers that I picked up terms from interest rates to economics to economy, all those all kind of things. And I don't know why, but from a very young age, the subject economics just stuck with me. And from a very young age, I felt like, okay, I want to do economics. So whenever somebody asked me what you plan to do in life, I said economics. I want to learn economics. And and then the 10th board came, and I got pretty well marks, good marks, but then I lost my A1, CBC A1 for math. Then all my teachers was like, Archer, you should drop max for your 12th. Even my mother was like, Archer, you should drop math. But I felt like, okay, I heard somewhere that, okay, economics is mathematics. You should learn mathematics if you want to do economics. So that just stuck with me. And I was like, no, I want to learn economics. So I do need to do math. I was like, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna take math. So then my 12th result came, and there again, due to a lot of reasons, I did not score that well for my maths subject again. And my dream of doing an economic honors subject for my undergrad from a very well university, I would say that just got crashed. So I was so dejected then. I was like, I wanted to do economic honors. I want to get into this university. So that, but my math score it wasn't quite met with the requirements. So then, but then I would say every rejection is a redirection to the better. And I will explain why that is. So then I joined a triple degree MA, BA Economics, Political Science, and English from St. Joseph's College, Bangalore. That was the program I joined. So this was a multidisciplinary degree. So Bangalore universities are known for their triple degrees. So you have three subjects which you have to study together. So I did like the idea of doing political science, and I like the idea of reading. I like reading. So it really matched with my aptitude. And now going forward after doing the degree, after doing my master's, I understood, like right now I'm so grateful that I took my triple degree more than the economic honors. I'm so happy that I took that course, and it was kind of the best decision in my life. So then there was these 3 years where we were taught political science, economics, and English. And I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed all three of those years, because for English we were taught how to write, how to read creatively, how to do print design. It made me comfortable with technology, using Adobe InDesign, print design, journalism. And then for political science, we were taught political concepts. We were taught about the constitution. And then there was economics, where we were taught about the technical bit, the economical bit, the maths bit. So it was just a very well balanced combination of theory, creative, and then the technical, the mathematical. And I also had the opportunity to take part in a lot of organization, like management roles, leadership roles, and it really did develop my managerial skills and communication skills. So I would say, even with the pandemic happening in the second year and losing a bit of class in the second year, those 3 years were the best learning years of my life. And I learned so many ideas, and the way that I saw the world, it's really changed because of the combination of how that curriculum was. And I am a really strong proponent of interdisciplinary research, of how important it is for us students to pick ideas from different subjects and just not and broaden ourselves in terms of the opportunities and knowledge that is out there. Then yes, so those 3 years, after those 3 years, then okay, the degree ended. Then I still was like, I wanted to do economics. That subject, that idea was still with me from the young age. Economics. So okay, I did a triple degree, but I did not. The one of the drawback with triple degree is that it wouldn't go that intense or that in depth, the single subject. But on the other side, you have so many more options. You get, so I have my classmates who are lawyers, who are currently MBA graduates, who are like, who went for literature, who went for economics, who went to politics. So it is a very big, wide arrangement of cohort of students. But but then I wanted to do economics. So then there came that gap year, and I was finding out ways where I can apply where I want. So I had this idea where I want to do a master's abroad, because while studying in Bangalore, the good thing was that there was a lot of students from all part of India. So coming from Kerala, it was a very nice opportunity to meet students from different parts of India, from different cultures. And I wanted to see how big the world is, to get exposure that is broader than that. So I really wanted to, there was two things. One, I wanted to study economics, and one thing, I want to have much bigger exposure. So I was like, I want to do an MSc economics. And that was my plan. Then there came a year after the degree where I was first offered a communication manager role. So, like I said, one of my the benefit with the degree was you can go into a wide variety of careers. So, I worked as a communications manager for 2 months with a startup company in Bangalore, based in Bangalore, which was more into the web development and software. But then, even though it was comparatively an easier job, I was not fully satisfied with the kind of work I was doing. I think for me personally, I'm more interested in the social sciences and public policy bit. So I transitioned into from communications manager into a think tank, where I got to intern under the chairman of CPPR, D. Dhanuraj sir. So that was the think tank was based in Kochi, and that was a really wonderful opportunity to understand the public policy sphere that exists in India. So there I got to intern in a wide variety of projects, from urban mobility, um, sorry. There I got to work in a number of projects, from urban mobility, looking at transportation, the EV sustainability policies that certain states had. And then there were also the Karnataka elections that was happening that year. So I did analyze those numbers and those figures. That's a huge topic in itself, which I won't go in detail now. Yes. Then I also had the opportunity where I got to uh, be part of the organization team, where they were working with the embassies of Japan and UK to have an international conference. So that really changed. That gave me a lot of experience on what all aspects that economics and political science can be applied in the public policy front. And also, I met a wide variety of students there who were really passionate about public policy. I also did a few roles in NGOs where I got to teach students from underprivileged communities in Karnataka. And also, I had this opportunity to conduct a research program. So, these were a few things I was doing in that year, trying to explore what kind of roles there were. I didn't want to constrain myself to a single thing because that's what I did in the beginning, economic honest. But then I understood that maybe you need to sometimes go with the flow and understand what all opportunities are out there and maybe try out certain things. You may like it or you may not like it, but you will still learn from it. So, yes, so that was happening then. And I would say there are a few things, ideas that my degree bachelor's really taught me, and I would like to share them if I here. Yes, so there are few. I think there were few quotes that still stuck with me. One thing is you have to constantly learn, relearn, and unlearn. Whatever you keep on learning, you have to learn, relearn, and unlearn. And then I think a quote that my political science teacher taught me was, Archa, everything under the sun is political. She was a political science teacher and she would always say to her class, Archa, everything under the sun is political. The personal is the political. So even when we not understand, maybe it's not political in the sense of the structures, but there are a lot of ideas. These ideas are constantly running through my mind. Then, thankfully, I got this opportunity to do an MSc Economic Masters from the UK in at University of Nottingham. That is when the most struggling, I would say, the most difficult part of my life till now in terms of academics happened. So as you know, I from a degree BA triple degree bachelor's, which is more into a theoretical and but an MSc economics was purely technical and was highly mathematical bit. So that transition from a BA to an MSc economics, that too in a foreign country, was immense. And it was, yes, so that was, I would say, was a big chapter of my life. So, and I did submit my dissertation last month. So I'm still not over that period. I'll be graduating this December. So,
But you've done
yes,
it. But you've done
yes,
it. You have achieved the transition. You have
it,
completed the transition. Okay, that's a remarkable journey to the BA in econ and political science and English, and be scared of mathematics, and then take MSc in mathematics in econ. It's a great journey.
highly econometrics and the
Yeah,
so the degree of intensity of the course,
yeah,
how
I know.
and we taught by professors who studied in Stanford, who were studied in Oxford, and the level of the curriculum and the level of the it was so difficult in the beginning. And I think, but one thing I have to tell to everyone is that having self-belief and yes, having self-belief and working, and everything is possible. Like you said, sir, in the beginning, we had that conversation where in this time and age, everything in terms of is available online. You can learn literally anything if you have the time and the dedication and the self-belief. We are, as a generation, are so fortunate to have all the resources in terms of whatever we want. We just need to have that belief and the curiosity to just learn.
Hmm.
And it is that belief that made me cope up. I wouldn't say I perfected it. It was so not ideal in the beginning, but somehow connected over like, through constant effort, through constant studying, through constant referral.
Hmm.
And the education system, the one thing is the education system, the difference in education system in the UK and India was also one thing that really did take time for me to adjust. Because in India, we are more taught to, we are spoon fed. We are more likely spoon fed. We know what's coming. But in UK, especially for masters. And normally in the UK, the masters are for 1 year. So, and it's more an independent study. The professors, they come and teach, and you are supposed to learn by yourself. So that jump in itself was crazy. So, but I would say always having self-belief and having putting in the work and having the right curiosity and right reasons, I think anything is achievable in this day and time. So, yes, so then I would like to talk about my master's. The journey of so the one good thing with economics is that there were students who were doing MSc economics in behavioral, there were econometrics and economics, there were data science students. So economics as a subject is so vast that that was not something that and I'm so lucky to learn economics because there is so much you can do in that subject. Even if you look at the person who won the Nobel this year, Dave Acemoglu, he was a person who published in political economy. And even if you look at so I know was it Richard Taylor or
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
because of based on psychology and behavioral
Yes.
economics.
Yes.
There's a yes, so
Yes.
economics the subject is so indisciplinary in itself that I came to understand how my degree, my bachelor's, helped me to change and helped me to understand the subject better because it's so
Okay.
connected. And any young person who is thinking of pursuing a career in economics, I would say go for it because it's so wide and you have so much opportunities in terms of even if you want to go for academics, corporate, think tanks, working with organizations, consultancies. It's so broad that I'm very grateful that I got to learn.
All right.
You know, yes, and I did have that thinking from a young age to go for economics.
Okay.
So yes,
So let me ask you a question here. Okay.
yes,
Since
yes,
you finished your master's in economics, your
yes,
teacher said to you, everything is political. But is
yes.
it true that everything is economic? Choose between the two. Everything is political and everything is economic, or are they reconcilable?
I would again say so. Both are intertwined and
Yeah.
interdisciplinary.
Okay.
Yes.
Both are true.
Both are true, I would say. Yes. I
Okay.
can't leave out, single out one. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And
Wonderful.
yes.
Wonderful. I
And I
just
would
thought since your teacher had told you, and now you didn't do political science, you did economics, you have no regrets that you did this, and you
mm,
don't feel that you missed out because everything is political, you should have done political science, but you are equally happy. So you think most things are, if not all, but most things are economics, right? And so
yes, sir.
whatever.
So again, to reframe that, I did not. I was going to talk about how my degree in political science helped me, and I would
Okay,
still
let's
say
talk.
everything is both political and economics. I think you can reaffirm both
Okay.
because so one of the biggest opportunity that I got to do that I had was there was a part-time research position that the university where Professor Matia he was so Professor Matia recently published a paper in American Economic Journal and he is an economic historian. So he had recently published a paper about understanding how cooperative theories and exploratory theories of state, how those whether how the cooperative theory of state actually drove civilization, the formation of state. That was the paper that he published, and he was going to conduct. He's currently doing a project on how studying wealth inequality in ancient Mesopotamia. So there
Yeah.
was a yes. So that is a project that the professor was doing and is doing right now, and he sent out an invite to a student saying that there is an RA position. So I looked at the profile of the description of the job and I was like, it said political economy. And I was like, okay, this is my subject, political and economics. And I was so, I was, I just jumped in and applied. And I couldn't believe it. I got that opportunity. I had that conversation with him, and I did have a talk about how political science and economics is so intertwined. And I would say my classmates, they are so much more brilliant. They're so much more smarter than me, most of the students, but they all came from an purely economics. Most of them came from a purely economics background. And I understood how my interdisciplinary background helped me there, and how that understanding of how of political concepts and communication and writing, how that came of help then. And right now, I am learning ways in how political structures and economic realities are intertwined. So I would say that was a blessing, a huge blessing. And I still am a huge proponent of interdisciplinary research and
Okay.
how, yes, and I am really interested in political economy. And that is something that I do want to carry out. So, yes, again to say that my degree, my economic honor, my that dejection about not getting honors, it was actually a blessing because
Yeah.
it did transfer to this here. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, so basically, I would that has been my journey so far. So I'm still currently a part-time research assistant, and I'm really interested in the project. And it's really, um, and I will be having my graduation this December. So to any young student out there, I would say, um, always there's so much opportunities out there for us, and everything is learnable with the right resources, a lot of resources, with the resources and internet, and with information being so much democratized, there's so much power that we have and so much responsibility we have. And I would say, sir, you are also a very good example of creating your own opportunities. You are reaching out to these young students, trying to get their perspectives out there. So as young people, we can also create opportunities for ourselves, be in terms of businesses or even creating a positive change in the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
All right.
believing in yourself, um, having that learning mentality, having a positive mentality, and creating, and there's an abundant opportunities, I would say,
Mm.
out there. So just believing in yourself and applying.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is basically my message. Yeah.
Well, it's
Out
a very
there.
good message. And it actually conforms to what I wrote on LinkedIn yesterday. It's
Yes.
exactly that. I wrote that India is a land of opportunities for educated, motivated young people. And
Yes.
below it, I wrote, this is what I hear in my Vidpeds.
Yes.
Okay. And then, of course, I wrote that, the people who say this, they also know that mostly they say themselves that we are privileged.
Yes,
And
I do want
and
to
we
say that.
know that others don't have this. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm, that's one of the key things that I have heard from various people. Uh, so you are saying almost the same thing. Anyway, congratulations. It's a great journey. I like political science. Political science runs in my family, my siblings, and so on. And we are quite at home in it. It's not,
Yes.
no, actually, I'm also, of course, only from economics only background, but actually, what I learned in class was actually very little. I hardly paid attention to what was taught in the class. I just learned it all on my own.
Yes.
And so the learning was actually very broad: political, social, sociology, history, etc. This is what my family talks about all the time. So it was there. So, yeah, I agree with you that it is very, very
And I,
important. Yeah, go ahead.
yes, sir. So, sorry, sir. Yes, I would say, and also there needs to be a lot more economics, I feel, data-driven thinking, and there should be a lot more data-driven thinking in humanities, I believe.
Yes,
And
yes.
yes,
Yeah.
that is something I think India needs to reconsider in terms of its educational policies, and how the humanities needs to be a lot more practical, because
Yeah.
yeah, that is something that's encouraged in the Western countries. And especially in political science, I believe that data-driven and empirical research, just how it's in economics, would help it to push forward the field to more ways than one. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And
Well,
um,
all right, go ahead.
yes, sir. So that's basically my learnings, and I'm still learning.
Okay.
I'm still understanding,
So what's
and
your, how do you see
yes,
your future? You're learning, right? But at some point you have to start being productive also. So how do you see your future?
yes. So research is a kind of productive. I would say research being part of contributing to the social science is also being a productive part. Maybe not in terms of money or the consumer side of things, but in the future, I believe I want to take part in opportunities and projects where I can use my knowledge and skills to create a change, positive change, and
Mm,
also to broaden the field of social
mm,
sciences.
mm.
Yes, and yeah, and at the same time, I have to say I'm very privileged to get that right resources, to have those opportunities, and I do believe that kids in the West have. I when I see how students in the UK have a lot, like they have these trips and travel, like they have these all these opportunities that students back home in India may not have. So that is also there. We do have to understand the gaps
Yeah.
between, yes.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to add here?
No, so I'm just very positive, and I'm also very excited to see how I'll be going forward and how to see our country and how
Okay.
um yes, my colleagues and everyone around us will be going forward in this decade. Yeah.
Okay. Since we have a little bit of time left over, I'd like to talk about two things I'm involved in.
Okay, sir.
One, 3 years ago, I wrote a book called Core Economics. It
Okay.
was an effort to boil down economics to into very simple language. So
Yes.
it's written basically at class 9 level, though the ideas are complex.
Okay.
So you don't write a class 9 book. It's a college level book, but written so that it's readable. It's easy to read. Okay. Okay.
Yes, if you go through most of these economic journals, they are too far too complex and they
Yeah.
have a language
Okay.
in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The economists don't know how to write. Okay. Fine. Okay. I know how to write. So
Mhm.
now I am now expanding it to core economics and public policy. Since you
Okay,
mentioned
fine.
public policy, I now have a co-author. He happens to be also my wife's younger brother, but he's also a very distinguished man. He was the Dean of Public Policy, University of California, Riverside. He's PhD
Mhm.
from here, master's from there. He's one of those guys. Anyway, so we are introduced, and this book will go in public policy
Yes.
beyond what is conventionally taught in public policy.
Yes.
Because I've found that, since I was working as a consultant in the real world, we were doing public policy.
Yes.
And so I said, look, the way they teach public policy is too narrow. And
More things. Yeah.
so we are introducing some ways to extend the scope of public policy, teaching and analysis. One of the key points there is that public policy tends to not look at mega problems. Public policy people tend to look at you know
Micro.
basically simple problems that don't involve a huge number of people.
Yeah.
They are so for example, now this is not just in India, it's around the world. Nobody has figured out what to do about the decline in fertility. Everybody is worried, including Indian states now, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. They're not worried about population. Problem is there's not enough population. Right now, they are just importing people from North India,
Yeah.
and other countries are import. But it's a serious problem, and nobody has figured out how to solve it. And that's
Yeah.
because the analysis in terms of public policy is too narrow. So that when you have such a narrow focus, you cannot resolve major public policy issues.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is one of the key messages in that book. It is one of my key messages that, unless you broaden your analysis of public policy, what, Japan's been trying to increase its fertility rate since 1992, right?
Yeah.
Korea is now today, uh,
Creating work from home, more holistic
yeah,
techniques
but none
and
of those is working, everything, because they just don't have a broad enough view. They know what are the drivers of the decline in fertility. Everybody
so
knows.
what do you say? Sorry, what do you say about the point where they say there is a correlation between women's education and
Yeah,
the
all that, everybody knows all these things. The thing
yes,
is that it's not that you don't understand why the fertility is declining. Yes, you understand. And you
yeah,
can understand locally, culturally, and so on. Problem is your public policy tools don't know how to take advantage of that knowledge.
yes.
Because when it comes to public policy implement design and implementation, you are stuck in a very narrow mold, and you have seven factors that affect this. Fine, and you know those seven factors. But when you look at the policies, they don't affect five of those factors,
Yeah.
right? Because they require actions that go beyond conventional public policies, right?
Yes.
So this
To
is sort of
add
one
to
of
that,
the.
yeah, sorry. So to add to that, one of the courses I learned, papers I had was applied behavioral economics, where they talk lot about applying behavioral studies for public policy. And that is something I think India, the concept is very relatively new to India. And yes, I think you would
So
also
we
explore
will
it.
we do have a, I don't want to spend more time on my book, but yes, we do have a section on behavioral because it's both economics and political and public policy. So when we talk about core econ, we do talk about behavioral economics. And when we
Yeah.
talk about public policy, we do talk about behavioral analysis. And the book has a description of Richard Taylor's work. So it is there, okay, but let's not spend time discussing it. I'm just saying it's going to come. So in
Yeah.
case you are interested in the future, you can look at it. The main thing I want to spend 5 minutes on is that uh, last year I began to think. I mean, I had written a book on India 2047 3 years ago, but it
Yeah.
was not really a book on how to take advantage of the opportunities. It was a book on how to remove the constraints to growth.
Okay.
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 Now, this year, last year or so, I wrote just a short note for myself. What are our goals for 2047? Because we
Okay.
don't have any goals written anywhere that are more than 5 or 6 years. People talk, okay, but the talk is all, as an economist, you would say, it's all some undefined words. There's no
Yes.
sort of systematic thing. So what I've done is, and I'm going to write, that's my other book project, is to write a manifesto for India 2047, in which there are goals and in which there are means on how to achieve these goals. So that what you do in a particular sector, right,
Yes.
is a way to reach a particular goal.
Yes.
Then all the sector, all the goals, you need to know this goal, what am I doing to reach this goal? Rather
Yes.
than just focus on the actions and say,
Yeah.
well, is this working, not working? Fine, good. But even if it succeeds, how much is it, what is it going to contribute to in terms of goals? So
Yes.
since we have a few minutes, I'm going to try to, now I'll put us on pause and I'm going to show you what my 11 goals are. Okay. So hang on
Okay.
for
So
a minute
that too,
while
yes.
I put you on pause and I'll find my slide
I-
and
Yes. Please
share
do.
this. Okay. Let's continue.
Yes. So also, I would like to take this opportunity to ask you some questions,
Yeah,
especially
please.
as a student who is passionate about economics and want to continue that as a career. What do you think young students and young people who aspire to have a career in economics, how should they take that forward? Especially, so you worked in so much so many political consultancies, policy consultancies. What advice do you have for us?
There's a lot of options these days compared to the past, where there were very few options in India. Today, you have think tanks,
Yes,
and you
yes,
have even the Niti Aayog hiring young people. Back
yes,
in my time, the Planning Commission never hired anybody young. Okay, there was no scope for young people, but today there's a lot more scope, and
yes.
it can be a good career for young people. And the choices are going to actually go up. So I think it's a very it's not going to pay as well as corporate for sure, and
Yes,
that must be kept in mind. But there's a lot more options in
yes.
research, applied research.
To have a fulfilling, more fulfilling kind, if you are
Yeah.
looking for more fulfilling. And what skills do you think, sir, we should aspire to
Well, you
grow
are
upon?
already done with this skills, you know.
Yes,
You don't need a PhD
yes,
because PhD takes 5 years, 6 years. It's a lot of time and effort, and it's not necessary for everybody to have a PhD. They can go forward quite a bit in the practical world because we do need practical solutions. We do need practical things. Uh,
yes,
just keep in mind one thing that people who go into the practical world tend to forget the theory. You need both.
yes,
So just don't forget that the theory is still there. And
yes,
that if you don't, otherwise it becomes just ad hocism. It just
yes,
becomes ad hocism. We don't need to be ad hoc to this extent. I
yes,
just need to know, just as I said, the goals are there. You need to know how the actions relate to the goals. You also need a good understanding of how what you are doing relates to some theory. So
yes,
don't forget the theory, but there's plenty of practical work to be done.
yes. So, broaden, I mean, really strengthen your foundation, but then grow in terms of practicality, in terms of the skills.
Yes, because as your teacher rightly said, everything is political. So
Mhm.
you have to understand the local situation unless you are making national policies. If you are making anything less than national, meaning state or district, or you have to be very focused on the local situation. Really need to understand your target beneficiaries.
Yes. And economics is such a field that it's not like the natural sciences. It depends on the context and the situation it's applied. So we do need to understand what the people, everything that even all those factors do affect the
Yeah, so
result. Yeah.
you need to understand, in the practical world, we tend to forget the niceties of theory and we tend to focus on let's do this, let's do that, but it's not a good idea. You need to keep your theory in mind. And of course, be very, very clear that some things, the theory is not going to necessarily give you the solution.
Okay. Yes, sir.
The solution will come by motivating the people, your target beneficiaries. You have to understand what motivates them
Okay. Yes.
and see how it fits in with their dreams, aspirations, and so on. And if it doesn't, then it's going to be hard to get it to work.
Yes.
So you have to understand whom you are helping.
Yes. I think I read somewhere that a good economist is a philosopher, a statesman, a mathematician, and a historian. So I think that just summarizes well what all qualities that a policymaker, consultant in economics should have while
Okay.
dealing with practical issues.
All
Yes.
right. Great. Okay. I'm out of time now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Okay.
giving me this
All right.
opportunity.
So let's end
I
the
really
recording.
enjoyed.
Let's
Yes.
end the recording here. Thank God.